Hello and welcome to another episode of our Sunday reflections. And this week we are looking at the third Sunday of Easter. And in this Sunday, we have a gospel reading from the Gospel of Luke. Now, picture this: you're one of the disciples of Jesus. You've just watched your best friend and your teacher die. You know he's dead. He died a gruesome death of crucifixion. And now you have two of your friends. They're there saying, "Hey, we saw Jesus on the road. We were walking over to Emmaus, and he came. He told us all these things, and we recognized him in the breaking of the bread." And just as you're thinking, like, "Okay, that's a little unbelievable, guys. Like, maybe, maybe you were just thinking it was Jesus, but it was really someone else." Um, but in the midst of you like questioning whether or not they're telling the truth, Jesus himself, your friend, the person you know died and was buried, is suddenly in the midst of you in a locked room. This is sort of similar to the Gospel of John from last week, but think of it like Jesus appears and the disciples were terrified. They thought there was a ghost with them. And Jesus says, "Peace be with you." He's like making sure they're not, afraid. And he said, "I am not a ghost." He's like, "Look at the scars on my hands. Touch them. Touch them so that you may know that I am flesh and bone. Ghosts don't have bodies." And just, as the disciples were, even though they were touching him, they're like, "Okay, but still, like, this is so amazing." And Jesus asked ask for fish. He's like, "Please, can I have something to eat?" And they give him fish. And what's really interesting thing about that, okay, not only does he have a body, but he's eating. So he's very clearly not a ghost. So what does this have to do with us? I see Jesus' resurrection from the dead. This this is the future we're looking towards after our death. We don't just end up going up into heaven. There's just a bunch of like us in like our souls like being like floating around, being like, "Oh, like with all the other saints." We're actually resurrected, body and soul. So in the resurrection, our body and souls will be united, and this is very important because uh, as humans, we are a body soul unity. Um, if we were just a body without a soul, well, we be a corpse. That's a dead person. Like, that's a body without a soul. And if we were a soul without a body, and we were created like that, we'd be angels. And we're neither. We're humans. So we have body and soul together. The only time our body and soul are separated, alright, is at death. And that is why death is so unnatural. Because our bodies and souls are not supposed to be separated. So in the resurrection of the body, our bodies and souls are reunited. So there's going to be a time period when, and I don't know how long that time period is going to be, where there's going to be disunity. But at the end of time, and then for the rest of eternity, our unity of body and soul will come to be. And this is big news for us too, because sometimes we might feel disconnected from some part of ourselves, whether it not be emotionally, spiritually, physically. We might feel disconnected, and whatever that disconnectedness is healed in the resurrection of the body. It's healed when we are in heaven with Jesus. We have a glorified body, kind of like Jesus. He had a glorified body too. Like he was going in and out of locked rooms, so like normally bodily people don't do that because they're not able to. But a glorified body, so we have our body and soul perfectly united in its perfect state. And this is what the resurrection points towards. This is what we are destined to. And this is the good news that we're going to hear on Sunday. The good news of Jesus being bodily resurrected. That he not only has a physical form, but he eats. Which I don't know about you, but if Jesus is eating after his resurrection, I'm hoping there's food in heaven. Heaven's been described as the wedding feast. So, my hope there's food. If Jesus is eating, maybe we get to eat for the rest of eternity and enjoy life in abundance. But really, what the resurrection about is that we are also perfectly united with Christ. We're perfectly united with Christ. Christ is the bridegroom, and we are the bride. We, as in the church, as in humanity, we are the bride of Christ. And in the resurrection, we are perfectly united with Christ. And that can be a whole conversation for another time, but just letting you leave off with your body will be resurrected, and you'll be a unity of body and soul for all of eternity. So take this as an opportunity to reflect on, are there any things that you are doing? Because what we do with our soul happens to our body, and what we do to our body happens to our soul. Because it's not like it's like separate. We don't own either of them. Our body and our soul are us. So take that as time to reflect. What might you be doing in body or in soul that could be hurting that unity? And give that to Christ. Give that to Christ. Say, Jesus, enter into this as part of my life. Help me be more like you. Help me to understand this unity of body and soul that I am created in more, and that you might be able to live that out more. So until next time, think about that, but definitely please keep safe. I am praying for all of you. Please pray for me.